word of the day is fan service.
You know, a common trend I've seen amongst countdown makers is that everyone has that one game or franchise which they're bound to talk about on multiple occasions. Today, I'm prepared to talk about mine. That being Hyperdimension Neptunia. For those who don't know, and likely don't, it's a comedy RPG series released by Nippon Ichi Software, the same company that made games like Disgaea and Trinity Universe, and developed by Compile Heart and Idea Factory. Even the father of Mega Man himself, Keiji Inafune, is involved. While the series is laden with fan service, looking past it reveals some very likable and interesting characters. Since this is a time of the year when people give thanks, consider this list my way of giving thanks to arguably the best series I've gotten into this year, and to give it more attention. I'm counting down the 10 characters in this series I consider the best. A few things to keep in mind though. First, while this list is not limited to party members, I am judging by personality, likability, and to a lesser extent, fighting style, which most of the antagonists simply don't have enough of. Second, at the time I made this list, I had not played Hyperdimension Neptunia Mach 2, so my knowledge of its cast is limited to reappearances in Victory. I realize this means I may have missed some notable details regarding the characters who debuted in Mach 2, but I'm doing my best to get equal representation of facts from each game. Third, while I do hope you enjoy the video, I'd love to know who your favorite characters are. If you feel like sharing, please leave a comment. But enough with the introductory prattle. Shall we get started?
I can transform, right?
We start the list off with one of the many DLC characters in Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory, CyberConnect 2, or C2 for short. For those unfamiliar to this series, the human party members are named after various third-party companies, and in C2's case, the company famous for the .hack series and Naruto Shippuden fighting games. True to this, her design and personality are influenced by Kite from .hack and Naruto from, well, do I even need to tell you? Like most of the DLC characters in Victory, C2 doesn't serve much purpose in the story, but purchasing her allows you to view a series of events centered on revealing her personality, as well as being able to use her in battle. From what we learn of her, she's from the land of Fukuoka, a subtle nod to where the actual company is based, who ends up in the game industry of the past thanks to your purchase from the PSN. That, and she's also capable of the impressive feat of beating Vert at an MMO. C2's power comes from her emotions, going full blaze when she becomes angered after seeing Noah hurt, and true to this, her stats focus on speed and attack, allowing her to hit hard and hit quick, making her both a glass cannon and a fragile speedster, especially with her ability to increase an ally's physical or ranged attack power. Overall, C2 is a pretty good party member to have. Though likable as she is and how useful in battle she can be, because of her status as a DLC character and zero role she has in the story, there's nothing else to get her higher on the list.
I can transform, right?
From a DLC character in Victory to the only DLC character to show up in more than one game as such, we have Falcom. Falcom is named after the Nihon Falcom Corporation, the pioneers of JRPGs and video game soundtracks who are still in business today. Falcom's a humble veteran warrior and tomboy at heart, shown not just in her appearance, but also by the fact that she keeps her sword in what can be assumed to be a guitar case. Said case is decorated with stickers based on the logos of various series made by Nihon Falcom. She's also shown to be a bit competitive and even worrisome over trivial matters. That and she has terrible luck when it comes to boats, often riding over many shipwrecks. While Falcom had only a minor role in the events of Mach 2, she can become a party member following a small transaction from the PSN. Likewise, she appears as a DLC character again in Victory, where your purchase gets you not only the past Falcom, who you saved from drowning, but also the present one seen in Mach 2, whose reason for appearance is never explained. Regarding Falcom's performance in battle, both the past and present versions boast defensive stats built like a tank, though the past incarnation offers more SP and a more balanced defense. The present Falcom, on the other hand, has more HP and higher attack, but also lower defense. Wait a second. She frequently gets into shipwrecks, just like Adol Christian, the protagonist of the Y series. Come to think of it, she bears a resemblance to him too. Could this mean that...
I can transform, right?
Whereas C2 and Falcom have attributes unique to themselves, balanced alongside references to the games their companies made, Mages is an interesting character because of the massive references that make up her personality. Mages is named after the parent company of 5PB, who made the visual novel Steins Gate, and she is, to an extent, a parallel to its main protagonist, Rintaro Okabe. Likewise, she also bears a good deal of resemblance to Kurisu Makise. For that matter, you can even purchase Kurisu's outfit from Mages. Mages is full of references to Steins Gate, ranging from having her call herself the Mad Magician, making similar poses to Okabe, having a fascination with a soft drink named Duck Tear Popper, and even the banana turning into jelly gets referenced. For that matter, the cutscenes involving Mages reference another 5PB visual novel, Robotics Notes, and even games and shows within it get a slight nod. During a few cutscenes with Nepgear, she mutters a bunch of nonsense, which can be considered a parody of the famous El Sai Kongaru phrase, but is actually a backwards acronym for Mages. In fact, as a nod to Mages being the parent company of 5PB, not only does Mages bear a great deal of resemblance to 5PB, down to the same beauty mark, but they're also confirmed to be relatives. Sadly, the two haven't yet appeared in the same game, so we don't yet know if they're cousins, sisters, or whatever else. Mages stays true to her name and plays just as 5PB did in Mach 2, with low HP and agility, but also SP so high that it rivals even ROM and RAM, as well as decent defense and the highest ranged attack of any party member. It's so high that some of her skills, such as Mechanical Paradox, do as much damage as an EX drive, the kind of attacks you'd normally reserve for boss battles. Thus, Mages can do close combat, but does best obliterating everything at a distance with a mixture of magic and science, making her an excellent addition to the party.
I can transform, right?
The first CPU to have the honor of being on the list is none other than the Nintendo representative herself, Blonde, aka Whiteheart. Whether her nation of Loei is Mushroom Kingdom inspired or traditionally Japanese, Blonde hasn't changed much as the series has gone on. And don't let her petite figure fool you. She's part Conker's Bad Fur Day and part No More Heroes, all in one interesting and deadly combination.
I won't let any of you selfish, icy bitches take the title of true goddess. Found you, you little shits. Get out of here, Thunder Tits! Here I come, bitches! The hell's that? Listen to that crap talking out your ass. I'll kill you! Die! Tangerines kick ass.
Blonde, hair trigger temper and all, is easily the most aggressive of the CPUs, and in battle is the default tank, boasting the highest HP and range defense of any character, but also low attack and SP that leave a bit more to be desired, as well as the lowest agility. Her weapon of choice is a hammer, which turns into an axe as Whiteheart, and it specializes in attacks that can knock the enemy back, as well as put a major dent in their guard. While this made her a mediocre party member in the original, it was greatly improved with the changes made to the combat system in Mach 2 and Victory. As for her personality, she's typically quiet and even a bit shy, but also easily irritable, especially in Victory, where she's liable to explode at the drop of a hat or mention of her bust. As Whiteheart, she goes from quiet to vocal and willing to say exactly what's on her mind. To be honest, it's done in an interestingly hilarious manner, almost like an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd. And I think the sheer contrast between Blonde's quietude and Whiteheart's vocal vulgarity contributes the most to Blonde's likability.
I can transform, right?
Only at number 6 does the main character of the series come on this list. Neptune, the CPU of Planeptune, can best be described as adorkable. Her quirky personality and constant optimism, complete with breaking the fourth wall, never fail to bring one's spirits up, and her more serious and mature personality as Purple Heart helps balance the mood whenever the story gets more serious. I also give Neptune credit for being an excellent counter to the amnesiac protagonist cliché. In the original Hyperdimension Neptunia, and in a parallel to Sega dropping out of the console wars, Neptune falls from grace and wakes up with no memory of the other CPUs. However, it's exactly this event which gives her the lovable, ditzy personality that makes her anything but a bland protagonist. And even near the end of the game, she's hesitant to regain her original memories, deciding to keep her new personality and memory alongside the old one. In Mach 2, where Nepgear becomes the protagonist, she balances her trademark quirkiness with wanting to be a model older sister to Nepgear. As for Victory, Neptune stays true to her Mach 2 self, especially after a humorous series of events in which Vert claims Nepgear as her own sister. As for her performance in combat, Neptune uses a variety of swords, including katana, broadswords, and lightsabers, and her stats are consistent throughout the series with a great balance, and a slight emphasis on HP and attack, making her a party mainstay throughout each of the 3 games. Don't get me wrong, I like Neptune, and I think she's one of the funniest characters in the series, but there are simply a few characters that I think are better. Sorry Neptune, but you're neither the fanbase's favorite character, nor mine.
I can transform, right?
So with a series made by Nippon Ichi Software, you have to wonder how long it took them to have a character made in their image, and what exactly such a character would look like. Thankfully, your answer comes quickly with a kick to the face by the self-proclaimed heroine of justice herself, Nisa. I hardly even know where to start with Nisa, she's that much of a likable character. But I suppose I'll start with her design, which is one big nod to the Disgaea series, by giving her both Laharl's scarf and a pretty backpack. Heck, she even has the same Japanese voice actress as Laharl and the same berserk button as Etna. Oh sure, she's a self-proclaimed heroine of justice who will jump in and save the day. But the moment you say anything negative about her moderately sized bust, there's a significant chance you won't be living much longer to regret your choice of actions. Other than that, and her strong sense of justice, Nisa shows a good deal of respect to the other characters, especially if they beat her to whatever crisis is going on, even accepting Compa as something as a sidekick. While she was only a guest party member in the original and required DLC to use in battle, Nisa made a surprising return in Mach 2, lending her strength to Nepgear and company after saving them from possible doom. In combat, Nisa uses punches and kicks, as well as, and I'm not even kidding here, a Prinny gun. Her speed is her strong point, and while her defenses are subpar at best, she's capable of buffing herself and allies. And in Mach 2, she can string together some of the longest combos of any character, only being surpassed by Nepgear. And if that wasn't enough, Nisa appears as a DLC character in both Disgaea 4 and Disgaea D2. In case you've ever wanted to attack someone with the kanji in Nippon Ichi, or have a character whose stats are boosted for every hour of gameplay on your save file. In short, justice is like batteries, righteous, AAA, and full of energy.
I can transform, right?
At number 4 on the list comes the cynical snarker of the party herself, IF. Like Neptune, IF is one of the characters who made the original game redeemable, going through a great deal of character development, which made her a very likable and interesting character, rivaling and even surpassing Neptune in a sense. When IF first joins the party, she's overly serious and rude, often disliking the party for getting sidetracked, but cannot leave, seeing as that's how RPG parties work, as Neptune puts it. Over the course of the game, especially during the Lean Box arc, she warms up to Neptune and Compa, even becoming concerned for the former's safety when she goes to fight R4 alone. In Mach 2, IF becomes something of a mentor to Nepgear and even considers herself responsible for Neptune, Blonde, Noir, and Vert being captured, following Neptune and company so that she won't make the same mistake a second time. In Victory, we get to see a younger version of IF who plays a less inclusive role in the story, and is also available as a DLC character. To be honest, after all the character development IF went through in both the original and Mach 2, I was a smidge disappointed to see her given a relatively minor role in Victory. As for her aptitude in battle, IF is all about speed and physical attack power, just like Nisa, as well as having more access to poison and paralysis-inducing weapons than the remainder of the cast. In fact, IF's speed can get to ridiculous heights to the point of making her nearly impossible to hit, making her an excellent emergency healer. Overall, IF was one of the best characters in the original game, with character development that made her a character debatably more interesting than the actual protagonist, and continued well into Mach 2. Her hilariously high speed is a borderline game breaker, and makes her one of the most useful party members in the entire series. She's definitely one of the series' best characters, though there are more characters that accomplish similar accolades to IF, and done them in more interesting and varied ways, which made deciding the final 3 a job in itself.
I can transform, right?
From this point out, deciding the final 3 was no easy task, so to kick off the 3 characters I consider to be the best, we have the protagonist of Mach 2, Nepgear. Hyperdimension Neptunia Mach 2 changed the franchise in many ways, among them the combat system and the dungeon layout. And along with these changes, we are introduced to Neptune's younger sister, who assumes the role of the main character throughout the adventure. Nepgear is both similar to and different from Neptune in many different ways. While Nepgear lacks the quirkiness of her older sister, she can still be a bit airheaded, though to a lesser extent. In place of Neptune's quirkiness, Nepgear is more shy and naive, and quick to lose her confidence. Honestly, I think this makes Nepgear a more compelling and interesting protagonist, as to match the more serious story of Mach 2, we're given a character who's overall optimistic, but better knows when to be comedic and when to be serious, a flaw in Neptune that occasionally made her a bit hard to understand. Nepgear made a reappearance in Victory, though she is disappointingly reduced from her position as main character and degraded to being the butt monkey of the cast. Even Vert seems to find the idea of Nepgear being a protagonist a humorous one. We do learn in Victory, however, that Nepgear has a fascination with robots, and she even repairs a Gundam wannabe for Neptune to summon in battle. In combat, Nepgear is very similar to Neptune, in that they both use swords and have an overall balance of stats, though Nepgear sacrifices attack power, speed, and luck for higher HP, SP, and ranged attack power. As with Neptune, the fair balance makes Nepgear a character you'll want to keep in the party for a large portion of both Mach 2 and Victory, especially since, unlike Neptune, Nepgear has a slight proficiency in healing techniques. Not only that, but as a partner, she can even disable the damage cap, meaning that powerful attacks can do more than the 9,999 damage limit. Let that thought sit in your mind for a bit as you ponder which of the two sisters is better, because if you ask me, I always prefer Nepgear. We can only hope she'll be the protagonist again, perhaps sometime soon.
I can transform, right?
So, in Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory, we got to meet Neptune's predecessor and the founder of Planeptune, that being Pluto. I would imagine everyone's initial reaction to her goes like so. Isn't she just adorable? I just wonder what she looks like in goddess form. And then you are met with Iris Heart, the sadist queen of pain herself. What makes Pluto such an interesting character is the sheer yin-yang basis to her personality before and after transforming. Pluto is adorable, lazy, friendly, and optimistic, while Iris Heart is sadistic, merciless, and isn't even afraid to turn her blade towards her own allies. The second Pluto transforms is when everyone and everything is at her mercy, going as far as to traumatize a young IF by doing something that leaves R4 mentally disturbed just to get a compliment. And as the story of Victory goes on, we see Pluto may very well have her own sadistic streak, without transforming into Iris Heart. On the battlefield, Pluto uses a stuffed animal which she can animate with magic or use as a voodoo doll. She focuses on high SP and ranged attack, with an overall balance of other stats, albeit a rather unimpressive one. After transforming into Iris Heart, she gains an electric sword, and the fair balance of stats takes on a notable increase. Pluto's large pool of SP at her disposal allows her to use her more powerful attacks, like Fighting Viper, with more frequency than other party members. Not only that, but a large portion of her skills weaken the target's stats, so it makes her an excellent character for both dealing damage and debuffing. Add a couple of healing skills, and Iris Heart becomes a versatile party member who knows how to make the enemy writhe in agony, and keep the party stable at the cost of low stats prior to transforming. In fact, this is just a theory, but I believe Iris Heart's sadism is a very clever and well-thought reference to how aggressive Sega was to Nintendo after releasing the Sega Genesis, the console which Pluto represents.
What Nintendo don't.
Not only that, but the scene where she mentally disturbs R4 and traumatizes IF could also be a nod to Sega's hostile attitude towards piracy. Pluto is definitely one of the series' more complex characters when it comes to her inspiration, and the mirrored nature of her personality and design before and after transforming leave you to decide whether you're strangely attracted or slightly terrified. Pluto was an excellent addition to the cast, but as we all know, when it comes to countdowns,
There can be only one!
But before I reveal number 1, though, a quick recap is in order. Anyways, number 10, CyberConnect 2. Number 9, Falcom. Number 8, Mages. Number 7, Blonde. Number 6, Neptune. Number 5, Nisa. Number 4, IF. Number 3, Nepgear. And number 2, Pluto.
I can transform, right? Sorry to keep you waiting.
If you haven't figured out who my number 1 Hyperdimension Neptunia character is, it should have been an obvious guess even if you know me remotely well. That character is none other than the CPU of Leanbox and representative of Microsoft, Vert. Perhaps the biggest reason I like Vert so much is for how well of a fanservice character done right she is. There's a lot more to her than her chest that makes her whom I consider the series' best. For starters, Vert has the most relatable personality out of the original 4 goddesses, being the otaku out of the group. She's prone to reference whatever she's been playing or watching lately, and her usage of gaming terminology in many of her lines can actually be pretty funny.
Your casual gaming mantra shines through, whereas my vigilant MMO training gives me infinite stamina.
Despite this, off-screen, Vert's the most mature and level-headed of the group, treating just about everyone with respect, and despite being slightly naive in the original, Vert could easily be considered the smartest of the 4 as well. In the original game, it's also revealed that Vert has some familiar problems with overheating. As humorous as it is, this is shown in an admittedly heroic way when she ditches her own basilicom and decides to single-handedly liberate Leanbox of every monster that spawned there because of R4. Even in Victory, the past Vert may not be as mature as she was in the original in Mach 2, but every bit of her likable personality is retained, and the prideful attitude she adopts as Greenheart is, in a sense, better shown in Victory than it was in the previous entries. Victory in Mach 2 also improved greatly upon Vert's performance on the battlefield. While she was only an average addition to the party in the original, the edits made in Mach 2 made her a much more unique and useful party member. As for exactly how Vert handles in combat, she's more of a technique character, as it takes time and practice to really use her effectively. Ever since the original game, Vert's been the queen of guard breaking. You see, in battle, attacking an enemy reduces both their health and their guard. Upon breaking their guard, the enemy will take anywhere from double to quadruple damage. Because of this, Vert can practically decimate guards at moderate levels, allowing the remainder of your teammates to bring on the hurting that same turn. Likewise, with Vert's weapons being spears, her weapons and skills have impressive range that allows her to strike enemies from afar or pierce through multiple foes. While this does sound a smidge overpowered, to help balance this out a bit, Vert's stats are fairly balanced with high agility, SP, and ranged attack power, but also low physical defense and HP that's adequate at best. Vert is by far the series' most interesting and well put together character. A prime example of how to make a character with far more motivation to love than simply sex appeal. Her personality is relatable, at times hilarious. She knows when to be humorous and when to be mature, and is even something of a voice of reason. The tongue-in-cheek references to the Xbox and Xbox 360 with her are equal parts funny and interesting to do research into. Her performance in battle is useful and even a bit more technical than other characters, but in no way do her stats make her a Mary Sue. These are all reasons why Vert is not only my favorite character in the Hyperdimension Neptunia series, but also by far one of my favorite characters in any video game I've ever played. I'm the Kitsune Hawk, and cheers to Nippon Ichi Software for creating this amazing series and equally great cast.